Hey everyone, welcome back. And today we are talking squads and military. I am in a martial trance. I am trying to make good on my promise from last video to turn this supervolcano fortress into a Spartan warrior stronghold. And I realized I hadn't really done that much discussion over military and squads and combat and things like that in Dwarf Fortress yet. So let's jump in. So first thing you're going to need, of course, to set up a squad is to set up a militia commander. That's one of your nobles. And from that point, you can then assign squad captains from the squad menu, which in the Steam version is Q. From there, each squad can be 10 dwarves, and you can assign a uniform for them. There's 3 default ones. Be careful not to delete those, because you actually can't get them back very easily in this version. And then there's 3 basic pre-assigned uniforms, and there's something called no uniforms, and then you can also do custom uniforms, which I honestly don't even know that much about yet. You'll see in this video, for the purposes of illustrating that, and also for learning it myself, I have one squad of leather armor melee warriors, one squad of heavy armor melee warriors, one squad of leather wearing archers, I believe, is how that works. I think archers require leather armor. Correct me in the comments if that's wrong. This one is going to be one where I have a kind of medium depth knowledge of it, so I can walk you through the basics, but I really don't know a lot of the really advanced calculation stuff, so definitely help me out with that if you know more than me. Here's one thing I want to ask. Actually, I'm going to start with a question that's just on my mind, at the top of my mind. So, militia commander is what allows you to create new squads, of course, but and then you have to have a captain of a squad before you fill the squad with new recruits, or before you even replace out, do any hot swapping of recruits. Is there any special function that the militia commander and militia captains have on the dwarves in their squad? Do they actually give commands, or, is any skill that they have, like discipline or leadership, does that actually affect battles in some useful way? I have no sense of that breakdown. But anyway, let's talk more about what I do know about. So we talked about squad equipment types. Once you've made your squads, once you've set them up, you'll see there's 2 main buttons. There's equipment, and that opens up the status of your dwarves' equipment, like how successfully they are fulfilling their own uniform requirements. And you'll see a bunch of times in this video, I open up that menu, and a lot of things are red, a lot of things are yellow, a lot of things are green. I'm clicking on the ones that are mostly green to show you what my best equipped dwarves have. And it's for every slot on the body. I mean, every part of the dwarf, greaves, boots, helms. You can actually wear 3 shirts when it comes to armor. This is important, actually. This is a big little fun fact that a lot of people don't learn until later. But your dwarf can wear a shirt, a normal shirt, of course, and then they can wear chainmail, and they can wear plate mail over that. That's the maximum. And that makes sense. That is like real life. A real knight would have an undershirt, and then have chainmail, and then have plate armor. So let's see, what else? Okay, yeah, leather armor only for archers, I believe. Another question that I would pose to the community is, when you assign dwarves to no uniform, how efficient are they about knowing what would be best for them? I realize as I asked that's probably a loaded question, but will a dwarf with no uniform, if they're good at using a sword, will they go pick up a sword, or will they pick up the nearest thing, even if it's a crossbow and they don't know how to use it? That's another open question I have. I'll report back in part 2, as long as this fortress continues to survive. So we are at this point. I'll talk to you about the issues that this fortress is having. So my dwarves are very skilled. I have them on... Oh, sorry, I forgot. Let me circle back and talk about schedules first, because I was about to say I have them scheduled in a certain way. So just real quick, next to equipment is schedules, and it's pretty easy. It looks complicated, but you just toggle each squad to either no training or staggered training. So occasionally per month, every 3rd month or something, they'll take a turn and do training. And then constant training, so they're always training, and then ready, which I believe just makes them go get their gear and equipment and be in their armor. And correct me if I'm wrong about that. I'm not sure if they train, or if they how that affects other work, except of course they can't pick up other equipment. That's as I understand it. And so that's Okay, so now where was you can hear the paper in my hand. I literally, guys, I swear I wrote a script for this one, but it's just complicated. Dwarf Fortress is hard to explain sometimes. So we were talking about scheduling. Oh yeah, so the problem my fortress is having is that my dwarves are pretty combat ready, right? So like they are training. Everyone's on staggered training, and I have an archery range, so they can practice crossbows. Crossbows are crossbows sometimes. They can practice shooting. They can practice individual combat drills for melee stuff in the barracks. So that's going well, and they seem pretty skilled. But the armor, they're about half armored, and I have a lot of copper, so I'm making a lot of like copper armor. It's a decent metal to use in terms of weight versus actual protection. At least that's as I understand it. I'm making silver bashing weapons because actually a few commenters actually clued me in that it's heavy. You know, it's almost as heavy as lead, so it's good for bashing, and it's not as soft as lead, I guess. So we're like medium equipped. We have a lot of war dogs. That's the other thing. We're training up. They're breeding almost out of control. But we have a lot of war dogs, a few hunting dogs. For those who might not know, those are just toggle options on any stray dogs or any dogs that you have. And it just sets them up for training such that either their might, their killing potential increases, or in the case of hunting, that their stealth increases. So we're doing all of that. But the basic problem is that my dwarves are good enough to take down big monsters. You know, in this footage, I think you've probably already seen, or maybe it's still coming up, but seen them kill ogres and trogdolites. Okay, I'm back because I had to actually pause the recording and looked up how to say troglodyte correctly again. So my guys are like pretty good. They're taking down blind cave ogres. They're taking down troglodytes. I gotta practice that. I always say troglodyte. Yeah, they're doing it. They're handling monsters, but then I'm still having an issue where like they are getting killed and seriously injured to the point where the replacement factor is not really feasible. Like when I send them out for a lot of combat, the fortress does shrink and there's bad thoughts. It's like they're coming back from these battles, but they're kind of not coming back from them very well. They're not coming back like totally cool. The way that my goal is, like I said, like proper Spartan. Like they show up, they win the battle decisively, they go home, they laugh about it, nobody's hurt. And we're definitely not there yet. So that's going to be a long journey ahead. Let me just check my notes and see if there's anything else. Let's see. Squad training and schedules. We kind of covered that. We basically covered that. That you can, assign them to automatic training and they'll go to a barracks or an archery range and handle it themselves. How to equip them, the different types, and how you can check that in the squad menu. The green, yellow, red that you've been seeing is a good overview. Armor types. Types of commands you can actually give your squad and military. I wanted to talk about. If you're a noob to this game and you're desperately confused by this recording that I've done that's especially disjointed today. So yeah, I'll just wrap up by covering types of commands that you can actually give squads in actual combat. So there's kill, of course, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can either use the point painter, which is the little sword, and to click on a certain mob. What I find is easiest to do is you go to the other list, you find the name of the thing that you're trying to kill, you then use the other list to locate to it, and then just keep your screen there and point at it with the kill command. There's also a drag rectangle, which you can use. In previous versions of Steam, the drag rectangle can actually work like a cube, which is cool because then you can go to the very top of your map and drag it all the way across the entirety of your map, and that's basically how you used to be able to instruct the game to kill all, anything that was available for that kind of targeting. But you can't do that in this version. You have to select at a certain Z level, just FYI, at least as far as I've seen. And there's also defend. When you assign a defense order, you mark a place on your map, and the dwarves will go there and just kind of like hang out there unless they see something that is aggressive, see something that is combat targetable as like an opponent, and then they'll attack it. They'll engage in combat on their own. This is really good. You can set up like a defense point. If you live in a evil embark that reanimates things, you can make a defense point by your corpse pile, and then as soon as a zombie you know, shambles up, then somebody sees it, a sword dwarf is ready, and he goes and he strikes it down. A similar thing is called patrol. It's same as if you've ever played like StarCraft or a lot of real-time strategies. It's same as that. You just kind of set patrol points. You mark little flags in the map, and the dwarves will just walk back and forth and do the same thing as defend, basically, where if they spot something, they'll go and they'll engage combat. And yeah, I think that's kind of the tall and short of it. There's like burrows that they can defend. You can assign them, you know, to a certain burrow, and then they'll stay there and keep an eye out. I think that's all I have for today, guys. And this was especially hard. I don't know. I'm having trouble narrating today, so maybe we should just call it at that. But thank you guys. Thanks everybody for joining me. Thank you as always for liking and subscribing. The growth has been really, really nice. And thanks to everybody who's been watching my off-topic videos, since this is mostly a Dwarf Fortress channel at this point. Thanks. I always appreciate it, and I'll catch everybody in the next one.